Back to school season is often when parents first begin noticing that something feels different about their child. Maybe they're overwhelmed by the classroom. Maybe transitions that seem easy for other kids feel impossible for them. They cover their ears when the bell rings, refuse certain clothes, melt down over small changes, or come home from school completely exhausted. And while many parents hope it's just an adjustment period, sometimes their gut tells them there's something deeper going on. The reality is that sensory challenges are far more common than most people realize. Today, about 1 in 6 children experiences sensory processing challenges that affect everyday life. That's not a small group of kids. That's children in almost every classroom. Yet, despite how common it is, parents are often told, it's just a phase, they'll grow out of it, or let's just wait and see. The problem is that when a child is struggling with sensory processing disorder, early intervention matters. But even more importantly, those interventions need to address the root cause, not just teach workarounds that help the child survive their environment. We see this every single week in our office. Parents come in describing a child who seems incredibly bright, but completely overwhelmed by everyday life. They may be doing well academically, but getting dressed in the morning is a battle. Hairbrushing is a battle. Loud sounds send them into panic. Certain food textures make them gag. Birthday parties become overwhelming. School drop-off becomes emotional. And parents often feel like they're walking on eggshells because they never know what's going to trigger the next meltdown. One of the biggest misconceptions about sensory processing disorder is that it's just about being sensitive. It's so much more than that. Sensory processing disorder affects the way the brain receives, organizes, and responds to information coming in from the body and the environment. That means a child may be oversensitive to touch, clothing, sounds, smells, bright lights, or certain foods. Some children constantly seek sensory input. They're always crashing into things, climbing, jumping, spinning, or touching everything around them because their nervous system is craving more input. Others avoid sensory experiences altogether. They don't like hugs, haircuts feel unbearable, brushing their teeth becomes a daily struggle. Many children also struggle with fine motor skills like writing, buttoning clothes, or using utensils. Others have difficulty with gross motor skills like running, jumping, riding a bike, or keeping their balance. They may seem clumsy, bump into objects often, or have poor awareness of where their body is in space. Crowded environments become overwhelming. Transitions between activities lead to meltdowns. They struggle to calm themselves once they're upset. Some seem constantly on the go. Others appear withdrawn or exhausted. Many have trouble sleeping, difficulty paying attention, or repeat certain movements because it's one of the few ways their nervous system knows how to regulate itself. When parents hear this list, they often realize their child isn't dealing with just 1 or 2 of these challenges. They're experiencing many of them. And that's because they're all connected. To understand why, we have to understand how sensory processing actually works. Every second of every day, your child's nervous system is taking in an incredible amount of information. First, sensory information comes into the body through specialized nerves. The brain then has to process that information and decide what deserves attention and what should simply be filtered out. Finally, the brain sends signals back to the body telling it how to respond. In a healthy nervous system, that entire process happens automatically. The brain filters out what's not important and responds appropriately to what is. But when the communication between the brain and the body becomes disrupted, the brain begins receiving inaccurate or overwhelming information. If the input coming into the brain is distorted, then the processing becomes distorted. And if the processing is distorted, the responses become inappropriate for the situation. That's why what looks like a behavioral issue is often actually a communication issue within the nervous system. This is what we refer to as subluxation or nervous system dysregulation. Once parents understand that sensory processing is really a brain-body communication problem, everything starts to make more sense. The next question becomes, why isn't this being found sooner? The truth is that most traditional medical evaluations aren't designed to measure nervous system regulation in this way. Pediatricians do an incredible job identifying illness and developmental concerns, but they don't have tools that objectively measure neurological stress patterns or subluxation. Even therapies like occupational and physical therapy provide tremendous value by helping children build important skills and develop strategies. But they also aren't designed to identify where neurological interference is occurring within the nervous system itself. That's why so many families spend months or even years learning sensory strategies and creating accommodations while still feeling like something deeper has never been addressed. At our office, we use neurological insight scans because they allow us to objectively measure how your child's nervous system is functioning. These scans help us identify patterns of stress, dysregulation, and neurological interference that can't be seen through traditional testing. Instead of guessing, we measure. From there, we use gentle, neurologically focused chiropractic adjustments designed to help restore communication between the brain and body, allowing the nervous system to regulate the way it was designed to. Our goal isn't simply to help children tolerate a world that's overwhelming. It's to help their nervous system become better equipped to process that world in the first place. Parents often tell us that as their child's nervous system becomes more regulated, everyday life starts feeling easier. Meltdowns become less frequent, transitions improve, sleep gets better, school becomes more manageable, the whole family feels calmer. Not because we've taught better coping strategies, but because we've supported the foundation that allows those strategies to actually work. So if your child has been struggling with sensory challenges and you feel like you've spent months or even years building workarounds just to make everyday life possible, I want you to know this. There is hope. Your child isn't broken. Their nervous system simply needs support. If you're ready to understand what's really happening beneath the sensory struggles, we'd love to help. Click the link in our bio, send us a DM, or schedule an appointment with me, Dr. Liv, and our team at Lighthouse Family Chiropractic. Let's help your child and your whole family experience a calmer, easier, and more connected way of living.